me out on Twitter and Instagram at DukesTheScoop. And please be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. All right, this is a CU scoop. As you see, I had to change my camera angle so you guys could see the totality of it. So we got make sure you guys can see the buff right there for sure. But this is a CU scoop, and today, oh yeah, if you haven't become a member, go to the description, become a member of the channel. But today, we're going to talk about the elephant of the room, in the room, or maybe the young lion in the room, maybe the prodigy in the room. But is it time for Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes to start former 5-star Julian Lewis? I don't know, but let's dig into it. So where are we right now? Let's start there. Where are we right now? The Colorado Buffaloes are 2-4. You've lost one game decidedly and three others that you probably should have won. Even with the 14-point loss to TCU, that game never felt 14 points away. I mean, you were really in the game all the way into the final minutes. Like it was, I mean, a comedy of errors when it comes down to the turnovers, the special team turnover. It was just a lot. You basically gave that game away. Kaden Salter, starting quarterback, transferred from Liberty, senior quarterback, had 3 turnovers, had a few misses, but he also had some great throws. He also moved the ball down the field. So I'm reluctant to go in and bash Kaden Salter at all. I'm reluctant to say he just played horribly. I'm reluctant to say this guy has no chance or no business playing on the Power 4 level. Do I think he could have had a better game? Absolutely. Do I think he played uh do I think he had a bad game yesterday? It wasn't totally bad, but 3 turnovers is not it. You know, some of the decision making, right? It's not even just the turnovers, it's when on the 2-yard line. Now, I saw some people saying that how much help did he get by running the same play on the goal line? But in my opinion, one, the ball was open. I mean, excuse me, that same receiver was open, but it had to be a very quick read. And secondly, you can always throw the ball away. Oh, that's a bad one. Throw it away. Let's get another one. That wasn't it. Point in case. Case in point. The TCU play where they ran a guy in motion and rolled Hoover out the same side and they just threw the ball in the flat. Almost like a high-low, roll out high-low. They ran that like 3-4 times in the same situation. And it wasn't until like that final drive till Colorado finally stopped it. So play repetitiveness is one of those things where they say you run it till they stop it. All right. They ran it again. That play doesn't have to be an interception. It was an interception. Okay. You can't get it back. Kaden Salter also made some great throws. Had some that he wished he had back. But right now, is he the best option for the Colorado Buffaloes? We saw what he did against Georgia Tech. Delaware, okay. Houston, okay. We saw him all year long, right? Actually, you didn't see him against Houston. I take that back. You did not see him against Houston, but you did see him. But you did see him against Wyoming, where he had his best game. But as a matter of fact, let's just pull up his game log. We're going to look at Kaden Salter. Stats don't tell the entirety of the story, but just for research sake. All right, Georgia Tech. I think he played well enough to win that game. 2-minute drill, left a lot to be desired. 17 for 28, 160 yards, 60% of his passes completed, a touchdown, a long of 39, and 43 yards on 13 carries and the touchdown. Now this is one thing that I think the Colorado offensive staff loves is the fact that he scored a rushing touchdown in every game. You cannot take that away from him. Delaware. Now, this is a Delaware game where he went 13 to 16 for 102 yards, had 3 sacks, 8 carries for 24 yards, and a tud. Came out on fire. We've seen the drives where he doesn't miss. Then I think that's the game where the offense stalled a little bit. Ryan Staub comes in, balls out, takes that game all the way into the Houston game, doesn't play well. You insert Salter back against Wyoming. He has his best game as a Buffalo. 18 completions on 28 attempts for 304 yards, 3 tuds. Only sacked one time, 190 rating, 94.8 quarterback rating, 11 for 86 rushing, or excuse me, 86 on 11 carries rushing, and a tud with a 35-yard rush. That's the game. That's the standard. That's the standard right there. All right, against BYU, 11 for 16, 119 yards, a touchdown. He turns the ball over with a pick, 3 sacks, 1 sack that you just can't have, 17 for 49 for a tud rushing. Then TCU, 18 for 29, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks, and threw another one that probably should have been a pick, 2 sacks, 7 carries, 11 yards, and a tud. When I see these stats, and I'm just keeping it a buck, stats alone, I don't think his stats are that bad where you look from a distance and you say, this guy's the worst quarterback ever. This guy's not good. He can't be a power forward quarterback. I just don't see that from stats alone. When you look at the games, you can see that some of the interceptions, like the interception on the 2-yard line, that's a doubly impactful interception. All this being said, I think K Salt has been very serviceable. I think that yes, there is something to be desired. But if you bench him right now, do you get the most out of him? Right? Okay, cool. Leadership wise, you can't really tell from outside looking in, but you can tell this team needs leadership, right? A lot of people weren't really just thrilled with his answer the week before after the BYU loss, and he was saying that he was impacted by being benched against Houston. A lot that was a little bit of a head scratcher, but not a head scratcher because I understand it. I do. Let me just. I can understand how somebody can say that, but is that what you want to say? Is that almost keeping it too real, right? But it is what it is. Enter Julian Lewis, who, if he was still playing high school football, would break the Georgia high school passing record by probably 1,000 yards. 5-star prodigy, incredibly accurate, really good when it comes to throwing the ball, layering the ball, throwing from different arm slots, technically sound, almost a genie when it comes to processing. Just turned 18, a real live prodigy. Made it a very so in fall camp, Julian Lewis, there was he went to Big 12 Media Day. It was a real race. It wasn't just Kaden Salter. It was a real race in the fall camp. And they said, and from what I heard, Kaden Salter really pulled away when Julian Lewis, I think he was sick or something like that. But in those days, that's when Kaden Salter really pulled away, right? Because the mantra in Colorado is, with a lot of people, and I've heard it before, is your best ability is availability. You got to be available, right? So Julian Lewis right now has a lot of, we've seen him a little bit. You haven't seen a ton of them, but you've seen him on the Well Off. You've seen him on the Pregame Network. You've seen him on Reach the People. Shout out to all those guys. And you wonder, is it time? I'm thinking against Iowa State, a team coming off a loss that was really, that a lot of people felt like had an opportunity to win the Big 12. Is this the best opportunity to start Julian Lewis? I don't know. but I think you gotta play him. I'm not sure if it's time to start him in a game that's important because you can't just think about this season. He's a true freshman. You got to think about your program. This is a potential program changing recruit. So you got to think about the longevity of it. The following week, you go to Utah. Do you want to give him his first start on the road at Utah? I don't know. If in a perfect world, I would play Julian Lewis this week. I would play Julian Lewis the following week. And if Kaden Salter doesn't show you the same Kaden Salter that you saw against Wyoming, then maybe you start him at home after the bye. Let's check this right quick. Let's check this out. So we'll pull up the schedule here. Let's go right here. Let's pull up the schedule right quick. All right, so your next game, October 11th, you've got number 22, Iowa State coming to town. I don't with the with the week of prep as the one guy, because recently he's been the 3. Staub has been the backup. So do you elevate him to the 1 and give him 1s against Iowa State? Then you got to bye. I would love to see him get prepped over the bye to make his first start. The only thing is I would hate for his first start to be against Utah on the road. Now, not saying that moment is too big for Julian Lewis, because for somebody who's been watching him forever, I have never seen a moment be too big for him, ever. Ever. He's never had a moment be too big for him. He's the definition of moxie, for sure. The definition of poise. The play calling needs to be in the pocket. People are going to have to block. Receivers are going to have to run their routes. Like, you're going to need a full team effort, because you do a first-time quarterback can be fragile, so you got to make sure everything's right. That's going to be a game where they got payback on their minds, but I think he could do it. And now the ideal situation, I would say, would be right here. The Arizona-Colorado game, Arizona coming to town, Colorado at home. That's the ideal situation. But nothing has been ideal about this season. So right now, this game right here, you got 6 games left. These are your final 6. If you want to try to make a run at it, because I think the Big 12 will be cannibalized, first you got to get 1. Iowa State's coming to town. Word is they do have 2 injured corners. The secondary could be hurting. You do have a really strong wide receiver room. Maybe this is the week that you say, Julian, do what you do. Do what we brought you here for. Maybe this is the week. I'm not sure if it is, but I think you got to play. You have to play Julian Lewis this week. And to be quite frank, I know that you don't want to have a 2 quarterback system, but maybe when let's say Julian Lewis is the starter, I think you still got to have a package for K-Salt. I think there's a way for you to get both of these guys some playing time without it being a true dual quarterback system, without it being a true 2 quarterback system. But I think this week, you get, if you want to play them against Utah after the bye, you got to play them this week. I don't have any inside intel. This isn't a rumor mill. This is just me talking with the fam about, do you think it's time for JuJu? I think it's time JuJu plays. You got to get him some experience. You got to, because at the end of the day, there was no recourse last week after halftime for JuJu to even be able to play, because from what I'm hearing, he wasn't running. He was running with the 3s or the scout team. You got to get him quality reps in practice so he can be ready. I'd venture to say that this week you see JuJu get more quality reps. I would say that. You got to see JuJu has to be ready. I think you give K-Salt the benefit of the doubt. You start him, and regardless of how it goes, and if he gets into a rhythm, and this is what I think, if K-Salt gets into a rhythm, you got to let him keep rolling. But I think you plan for maybe series 3 Ju, based on as long as it fits these parameters. The ball is at least on the 30-yard line. The ball, you don't want this first series to be on the 3-yard line after a punt, because after somebody has a coffin corner punt, that's not what you want. But as long as the situation calls for it and the situation is favorable for Ju, then you place him in on whatever series and see how he does. You've got a really young quarterback with a bright future, and I know people want wins right now, but you're in a delicate situation because you have a quarterback that can really be your next guy for the next 3 to 4 years. And the way I'm hearing it, he wants to be in Colorado. He loves it, the way I hear it. So this is just not a now decision. This is a future decision. So I think you get JuJu some work, and you see how he does, and you piece him off a little bit, see how he does with it. But I'll tell you one thing. I'd be once JuJu gets a hold of it, I don't think I don't think he lets it go, and I don't think the staff will let it go either. You start to get used to that type, of if it's the JuJu that I know or that I've seen. And I think that the K-Salt, I've seen the best K-Salt. I've seen him. I think there's a world where they can coexist for the betterment of Colorado. So even if even if JuJu gets the job, I think you still find a way to play K-Salt. And I know a lot of people say that, well, why would you sabotage his NFL stock or, the next year? Peyton Thorne last year at Auburn didn't play well, got benched for Holden Gardner, and he returned to the position after a while, but he still got his opportunity in the NFL with the Cincinnati Bengals. So the NFL will be there for Kaden Salter. It's up to him how, what he does with his opportunity. I'm pretty sure he will get in somebody's camp, regardless. And if he balls out the rest of the year, he still has a chance to be drafted. But as of now, he has some rebuilding to do stock-wise. But I think the NFL knows who Julian Lewis is. So it's not a stain on your name for Julian Lewis to get the job. So I think there's a world where they can both coexist, and I'm hoping that it bodes in both guys' favor. But I think it will be very valuable for Julian Lewis to play this week in Iowa State, not only for his benefit, but for the benefit of the Colorado Buffaloes. And I think people want to see it, and it will kind of. And to be honest, JuJu goes in there and balls, you kind of restore the hope in Buffalo Nation, because it's been tough. A 2-4 start is something that nobody envisioned. So if I had to make a bet on it, I would scroll over to mybookie.ag, use my code DSCOOP, DSCOOP, and I'd place a bet that say that JuJu will play this week. Not a prediction, not telling you that it's gonna happen, but that's what I would do. That's what I think. All right, man. I appreciate y'all time. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DukesTheScoop. Drop in the comments. What do you think? Is it JuJu time? Let me know. All right, see you.